Hello, this is my first time doing something like this, so I apologize if it's bad. This is what if Toshiro Hitsugaya, from the anime Bleach, trained Naruto Uzumaki, from the anime Naruto. Some characters' personality might not be the same as I'm used to changing things when writing Naruto stories. For now, I will be focusing on Toshiro before I move on to Naruto. I hope you enjoy. Feedback is very helpful. Summary: Toshiro had unknowingly traveled to a different world while fighting a new dangerous hollow. Somehow, he ended up in the Naruto universe. With no way home, he settles down in Konoha and becomes a shinobi. Although he has to train a certain blonde, I wonder what's going to happen. This is my story on AO3 under the title Ice Sensei. Groaning in pain, Toshiro opened his eyes and saw that he was in a white interrogation hospital room. He took note of the chains on his wrists and ankles. Frowning, he sits up to the best of his ability and scanned the area. It was a very sealed and guarded room, heavily guarded room. Pressing a hand to his forehead, he groans again in pain. What the hell happened? He muttered to himself. All he could remember was fighting a new species of hollows, and then a black portal had appeared behind him. Soon enough the door opened and two people walked in. Looks like you're awake, one said, taking his seat on a chair. He glared at the Shinigami. The other one stood to the side of the man. Toshiro frowned and narrowed his eyes. Who are you? The other man narrowed his eyes. I'll be the one asking questions here, young man. Toshiro frowned deeper. Who are you? The man asked him. Hitsugaya Toshiro, answered Toshiro. The blond man wrote things on the clipboard he was holding. How old are you? Toshiro shrugged. I no longer know. The man raised a brow. You don't even know your age, how pathetic. Toshiro scowled. The man, he soon learned to be called Ibiki, asked him off-the-chart questions that Toshiro knows way too well. Toshiro lazily answered all questions. When Ibiki figured out that he won't be getting the answers he need easily, he turned to one of the masked people. Bring me that. Toshiro raised a brow at that. The masked person nodded and disappeared before soon reappearing with a familiar katana. Ibiki took the blade from the masked man and took the sword out of the shelf a bit. Toshiro scowled and glared at Ibiki. Frost soon appeared in the room and on the bed, even the chains started to freeze. Ibiki smirked, smugged. Looks like I touched a nerve. I can understand that. This blade is a beautiful masterpiece, a family heirloom, I assume. Toshiro's turquoise eyes turned ice cold. I wouldn't do anything to that blade, if I were you. Ibiki raised a brow. Oh, and what are you going to do about that? Toshiro gave Ibiki a dark smirk. Because you piss him off, I assure you'll be losing an arm. Toshiro grinned, making Ibiki narrow his eyes. Him? Toshiro just smirked and looked at Ibiki's arm that was holding the blade. The other man noticed Toshiro's gaze and looked at Ibiki's arm, his eyes widened. Ibiki, your arm. Ibiki looked down and saw his arm starting to freeze over. His eyes widened as he turned to the Shinigami. How dash? Looks like you're starting to piss him off. Toshiro hummed. Who is him? Demanded Ibiki, making Toshiro chuckled. Him is me, I am him. We are the same but not the same. We share one soul but are different, smirked Toshiro. Ibiki put the sword down on the table and turned to the man. Inoichi. He just said. Inoichi looked back and nodded. He went up to Toshiro, making Toshiro raise a brow. Before he could say anything, Inoichi put his hand on Toshiro's forehead and the other hand. Shitenshin no Jutsu. Inoichi opened his eyes and was surprised at where he was. On a plain ice field that seemed to go on forever. A frozen lake. Frozen mountains. Frosted trees. He turned around in a circle and took in the scenery. How I've never seen a mindscape like this before. His breath was taken away. A low growl can be heard, making the hairs on Inoichi's arms and neck stick up. Inoichi looked up, his jaw dropping and his eyes widening. A magnificent frozen ice dragon was looking down at him, glaring at Inoichi with its crimson eyes. "What are you doing here?" the dragon growled. Inoichi gulped. I'm just here to look through his memories, try and see why he's here. The mind cannot lie as easily as the mouth can. Inoichi stuttered. The dragon narrowed its eyes before growling again. "Go down that path and you'll find it." It nodded his in the direction of a snow-covered path. "Now get lost before I kick you out." Inoichi bowed and headed down the path, taking a shaky breath. Well, he'd never experienced something like that before. He soon stood in front of a cave. Hearing footsteps crunch against snow, Inoichi's head turned towards the direction of the footsteps. Toshiro stood a few feet away from Inoichi. "I'm surprised Hyarinmaru allowed you through," Toshiro said. Inoichi's eyes widened. "You gave that dragon a name?" Toshiro chuckled. "No, I never him a name. That was his name way before we became partners." Inoichi's eyebrow rose. "Partners?" Toshiro grinned. "He's the blade that froze that Ibiki's arm." Inoichi's eyes then widened. "That dragon is that katana?" "That is what I just said." Toshiro crossed his arms. "What is it that you're after?" Toshiro asked Inoichi. Inoichi sighed. "Your memories. I need evidence that you're not a threat to Konoha, and I doubt saying that you have a dragon in your mind will be believable." Toshiro grinned, a must, before that grin turned into a sharp and sarcastic laughter. "Well, good luck finding what you're looking for. You'd need at least my lifespan. Oh wait, we don't have centuries, do we?" His voice lost the taunting edge to it at the last sentence, and he looked at him, considering, as Inoichi choked on spit. "See centuries?" He had to be joking. Inoichi thought. Toshiro sighed and walked over to the cave. He placed his hand at the edge on the entrance of the cave. The inside of the cave glowed. "Here, I've made sure a few memories are placed that holds evidence. Good luck." "Oh. And the first memory is shown for shits and giggles," grinned Toshiro. Inoichi raised a brow at that before walking into the cave.